What is up, guys? It's Verns back again with another Supercoach video. This time we're going through the NBL players with high ownership that I personally disagree with. Now look, there's not a huge amount of names on this list, but the ownership does die off pretty quickly when it comes to the top owned players, so we're just going to go through the ones that I personally don't agree with. Now, I guess starting off with this list, it's no one crazy at the top of this list. I mean, look, Magic, I think people just put him in their team for a cheap player just a cheap player because this man didn't play the Blitz, and I don't know why he's in anyone's team. Yeah, I didn't even see any news on him, so I'm assuming he's not playing, or if he is, then he's going to be nothing, so we're not going to include him in the list. Rocco Aldrich, look, I talked about his, I guess, run not being as good as other teams, but God, he was too impressive to not have such a good ownership. So then it leads us down to, I guess, our number one player with a high ownership I disagree with, which is only 16%, so it's not crazy numbers, but it is Chris Goulding. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What's wrong with Chris Goulding? Like, I don't understand. 22.6 average, 262 price tag, like, what's wrong with him, sort of thing. Look, Chris Goulding, I understand. He plays for Melbourne. They have that good run early. I just personally think there's better options than him. I much prefer Delhi as an option, and I definitely prefer Luke Travers as well as an option. I guess Goulding is definitely going to entice some people, but look, he had like a career best year last year, and he's like 30, I want to say like 34 or something. Like, he's on the older end towards the end of his career. Like, he came with a career best year. Do we think he's going to back that up with another career best year? Look, probably not. I think an absolute best case scenario, he ends up sort of performing at what he's expected to perform at, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this at a lower level. I mean, just going over what he did do in the Blitz, he came out with a 2, and that's not from an injury concern or anything like that. He just generally did nothing in that game. He played 20 plus minutes and got 2 for Supercoach. I don't think he scored a single point. So, yeah, I don't know what happened with him with that game. I didn't even realize he was really running around on the court. Like, he just didn't really participate. But then the next 2 games, he then followed that up with a 21 and a 24, which basically bangs him on towards his average of 22.6. So he performed at his average, which is honestly, like, as I said, like, I feel like it's going to be the best case scenario. But I don't know, he's a player who relies a lot on scoring points rather than doing a lot of the other stuff that other players score points off. And it just didn't pass the eye test for me. Like, a few of those games, it felt like he really went on heaters and had some big moments, and that's why he managed to get these scores. But it's like, it just felt like for someone to have a 5-minute spurt where they go absolutely nuts, it feels a bit unreliable throughout the season. Like, I would like to see someone who's scoring multiple ways, not just off points, not just relying on that 3-ball. Yes, it's a great 3-ball and it's beautiful to watch, but I mean, I just didn't like it. I don't like the unreliability of him having to score points, and in the game that he didn't score any points, he scored nothing Supercoach wise, which obviously that's always going to represent, but it just wasn't impressive for me personally. Like, I'm very surprised to see it at 16%. Like, I would have expected some Melbourne fans or some Goulding fans to definitely have picked him up, but for it to be 16%, I mean, if you watched all 3 games, like, as I said, he had 2 games that were pretty decent, but they weren't good enough. We're looking for players that are going to play above their price tag, and the only exceptions to that would be obviously Mitch Creek and Bryce Cotton, just because, like, their price tag is very high, but if they can put out roughly close to that, we can use them as captain options in these double games to, like, be super, super valuable. Goulding doesn't fall into that basket. He's not a captain option. He's not going to be playing above his current price tag. If anything, you're most likely going to be paying for someone that's going to be paying below their price tag, in my opinion, and I do just disagree with that pick. It's definitely not one for me, as my dog comes barging into the room. Now, look, Josh Bernan, 8th, 15%. I can understand that because, as I said, this man was really, really good. in his game. Like, he was really, really good in the one game he played before he injured himself and didn't play the rest of the blitz. And that's the real worrying concern there. Is he even going to be playing round one? And look, they only have a one game on round one. Like, Bullets don't come out of the gate with a bunch of double-doubles. They have a double in round two, and I'm pretty sure a double in round three. I think he's definitely someone that we should be waiting on. If he ends up getting named round one, as I said, feel free to jump on him early if you need that cheaper player. But I wouldn't be surprised if we should just wait a week and bring him in week 2, week 3 for those double games once we know he's fit. Because, I mean, running with someone that did go off with an injury is very scary. But yes, he did look very good. Now, that's not one that I personally have on this list of players, just because, as I said, like, he's very good. Like, if he gets named, I would love to pick him up too. But as I said, since Bullets only have the one game in the first round, you could miss him potentially just to see how he's running and make sure there's not any, I guess, long-lasting concerns that maybe keep him out for a few extra weeks. Tyler Cook, I think that ownership should actually be way higher. So these are ownerships I disagree with, and Tyler Cook's ownership needs to be way higher. He needs to be in everyone's team. Like, even if you didn't watch the Blitz, you should just be looking at who got named MVP. The answer was Tyler Cook. He's come in to fill the hole because of, I forgot his name from South Melbourne, but because of Alan Williams, there we go. Because of Alan Williams being injured, a player who's really good, they've brought Tyler Cook in, as an import. I understand he didn't have a great NBA record, but he was unbelievable in those Blitz games. And even if you just watch the 12 minutes, like, videos, 3-minute videos of those games, any South Melbourne games you're watching, you should know that this man needs to be picked up in your team ASAP. That should actually be at least 70 plus. Like, I think everyone should start him. And the reason I'm saying 70 plus is because I'm guessing 30% of the people that made their teams, as we can see, 27 right here, that then stopped paying attention to them. So yeah, if you're paying attention, you've watched anything, you need to know that Tyler Cook has to be in your team. And honestly, right now, there's only 14% of people that actually watch the Blitz, because I just don't understand how he's not in everyone's team who's actively playing. So jumping down to the next player, I actually disagree with their ownership. I actually disagree with Froling's ownership. 10%. I'm very surprised how high that is. Look, this man had a great last season, 27.5, but because of that, he does come in with a heavy price tag attached to him. And as we've talked about, like, I think fixture's king in this form, like in the NBL Supercoach, and Illawarra's starting run, it's slower than everyone else's. You could bring in a player cheaper than him, maybe doesn't even score as well as him, but is naturally going to have more games and just going to take over in that retrospect. Saying that, I do think Froling will not actually live up to the average he put out last season. I mean, look, just going through his numbers in the Blitz, he got a 26, 22, and a 21, so about a 24-point average. So that's about the 277k imports. He averaged what they're priced at, sort of thing. And I think with the way they've restructured this team, I do think that's going to be pretty accurate. Like, he's a good player, and I did like what I saw from him, but I don't think he's going to be playing at the 27.5 average, plus just naturally playing less games in the opening few rounds. Like, he's just not the pick for me. I really think there's better options at this price, and this should really be dipped down to, once again, Illawarra fans or something like that. I think there's just better center options. Purely having Tyler Cook, just full stop, is a much better option. Even jumping up the list, I mean, Alexander Sarr, like, you're probably running him on your bench, but then you got Pinder, definitely a better option. Like, he's not the option for me. He's got a heavy price tag, and he's not going to perform to the average you saw last year. So you're paying overs for him, and once again, the poor fixture. So I think this is not a pick that we should be going for. And once again, for those that watch the Blitz, he did have good moments, and Illawarra looked a lot better than what they were last season. But that may actually not help him directly. Last season, Illawarra was bad, and Froling had to do a lot of the work. That's why his points are so, like, his average is so high, because he generally had to do a lot of the work last season. Because of them being a poor team. Like, they've drafted really well in this offseason. They've brought in young talent. They've brought in imports. Like, they've really changed up their entire team. And I think they're a better team, and they're going to do much better. But naturally doing better means they won't be relying on Froling as much, and I think he will naturally regress Supercoach-wise. His scores will go down, and you will be overpaying for him. So, look, just one there. Now, two others. Man, I can't tell if these averages have already changed since I looked at it previously, because where did the other players go? I swear, am I blind? I swear when I was looking at this and I was making this list, Armstrong was like right up the top. Like Armstrong was really high up here. That's because I'm only looking at forwards right now. That explains why that is a mistake. Sorry, once we jump over to the guard line, we can actually see, there we go, Taryn Armstrong, 33% ownership. Absolutely nuts. And it's the same thing I've been preaching the entire time. It's fixture is king. Fixture is king, and Taryn Armstrong plays one game, so he doesn't even have a double in the opening, so he's not really super great in the opening team. Then he plays a double, and then he's gone for 2 weeks. Like, I talk about a lot of teams having 5 games played by round 3. Unfortunately, Cairns isn't that team. Cairns plays 3 games by the first 2 rounds. That's fine. They're only 1 game behind, I think, Adelaide and South Melbourne at that point, but then they have 2 buys in a row. So not until round 5, and they start playing doubles again. And I think Taryn Armstrong will be great to target at that point, round 5, but we can't start him. We just can't start him with that run. Like, if you want to start someone who's going to be playing way above their price, that's definitely what he's going to do. Someone that's going to make you money, though, as well, because they're playing above their price, he actually won't be able to do that purely because he's only getting 3 games in. Like, he's going to be in there for 2 games, and then you have to trade him out. You have to trade him out by round 3. Like, what's the point of that? You might as well bring in someone that maybe they don't average as well, but it means that they can sit in your team for an extra 2 weeks, and then you can move him to Armstrong after Armstrong's had his bye. And these players potentially put out 7 games where Armstrong's put out 3 games. They've obviously made more money because they've played over twice the amount of games, and they're going to have scored more as well. So just Armstrong, unfortunately, Cairns players is like must avoid. All Cairns players are hard avoids purely because of that opening fixture, and I cannot preach that enough. This 33% honestly needs to be 0. Like, it can't be started. Like, look, something I'm going to say here, like, this is something that we definitely know for AFL Supercoach, for everyone that plays that, but because a player is a good player doesn't make them a good Supercoach pick. And unfortunately for every single Cairns player, because of the way the fixture works out, they go to the US, they play a few games against NBA teams. They don't play games for us Supercoach-wise, so we just can't pick them. It's just as simple as that. So yes, Armstrong definitely needs to be down at 0, unfortunately. Saying that, look, his numbers are insane. He's priced at a 6 average. He put out a 23, a 13, and a 35. Like, this kid's insane. Like, he's definitely a must-have if he played for, like, most other teams in the competition. If he played for Melbourne, if he played for Adelaide, like, if he played for a team that was giving him as much court time as Cairns is, but at the same time, they had a better fixture, he would be a must-start. But unfortunately, in the hands of Cairns, because of their fixture, he is someone that you just have to avoid, unfortunately. Jumping down to the next one. So this explains why the ownerships were so far off as well, because I was in the forward category for ages. 33% ownership makes a lot more sense. Next one, in my opinion, is actually Trent Flowers, 28% ownership. Now, this one, you might think is a little bit controversial, Vern. You've been, like, Vern, the entire time you've been preaching fixture is king. Adelaide have a double in round 1 and a double in round 2. Does that not make Trent Flowers the perfect starting pick? Look, to this, I say no. Unfortunately, Adelaide players we would love to start, but he just didn't pass the eye test at all for me. So Trent Flowers, he is going to be a great prospect in the future. Like, that's why he's in the program. I forget what it is, like the development program the NBL run, the Next Stars Generation program sort of that they run. He's going to be insane one day, but that ain't yet. Once again, he will be an unbelievable player, but it's not for our Supercoach teams right now. Like, let's look at his numbers real quick. So, first game he played, he is elevated price tag for a rookie player as well. He is priced at 10, and game 1, He put out 0. Once again, this isn't one of those things where it's like he put out 0, but did he injure himself? Did he play much? No, this kid put down 22 minutes on the court and scored a 0. And he didn't not do anything. I think he had like 8 points, 2 rebounds, I think 2 assists. That's like 14 points right there. And 7 turnovers. Now, turnovers are extremely important because it's -2. Great, he earned 14 points and he lost 14 points. So he has come round to 0. And that's been one of the biggest critics on Flowers so far. It's like he is getting a lot of turnovers every single game. And it's like, look, as he develops, he'll get really good. He'll get that out of his game. And, you know, once he gets those out of his game, he's going to be elite. And it's like, yeah, I definitely agree. Once he gets those out of his great game, once he puts on a little bit more size, he will be a really good player one day. But right now, he's making a lot of turnovers and he's not putting huge stats out yet. And he's doing this while Wiley is not playing and while Trey Keller's not playing. Those 2 players come in, it's definitely going to mix with the team. It's going to change the rotations and it's just going to change the way everything flows. But I don't think it's going to make Trent Flowers' turnovers naturally disappear. I think if anything, he's going to have less time on the court. Yes, less time for less turnovers, but obviously less time to score points and do all those other things you want to be doing. So, look, you put out a 0 game 1, then a 15, and then an 8. He's priced at 10. Even if you looked at that as only the 15 and 8, that's 11.5. That's really not much more than what he's priced at. And then as I said, you've got to include that 0 at the end of the day, which pushes him to like an 8.5. Just under an 8. I think 7.6 for his average. So he actually performed under his average. So Trent Flowers, he has the double, he has the fixture, but he's just not there for us yet. He's not that player yet. He's too young. It's not here. I do think I wouldn't be surprised if he came out with like a 15 average because all of a sudden, you know, these were nerves or something that originally laid into him because these were games with lots of spectators. But I think that's the absolute most upside, and I think that's me giving him too much credit. Like, it's hard to say because he is a talent, and he could definitely do that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him honestly averaging around this 10 to 12 mark, and then you've paid up an elevated price tag for a rookie that's getting outperformed by players that are cheaper or significantly outperformed by others at the same price tag. So yeah, look, just not a pick for me. I think there's better things you can pick. He's 28% ownership. I think that should be much lower. Once again, these people that watch the Blitz, like a lot of people knew Trent Flowers was coming in as an athletic prospect for the future, and everyone was like, yeah, this kid's going to be a gun one day. Once again, I don't know if these people are Supercoach players or they have that Supercoach background, but being a gun one day doesn't make you a Supercoach player right now. So, unfortunately, I think you got to cross him off the list. Okay. So that's most of them. The final one we are going to go through to is Rocco. 12% ownership here. Look, he did look really good in the first game. I saw him and I was generally like, okay, yeah, not bad, not bad. Like, he has some good height and they ran him a decent amount in that game. But look, he's elevated price tag, priced at 10. Game 1 comes out with a 14. Game 2 comes out with a 5 and then doesn't play game 3. I understand game 2. He hurt his ankle, he rolled it, and then that's why he didn't play game 3. So, obviously, he had much less minutes in the game 2 as to why he got that 5. But once again, I think money better spent. I think that 14, he was doing a lot of things right to get a 14. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be averaging between the 8 to 10 range, which is where he's priced, if not less. And you just can't pick that. Once again, just there's a better you can do with the money, and you're picking him in a center position. He has to 100% be in the center position. That means if you're picking someone like Hook Porty, you only really get one other center. And I think Sarr and Cook, like, they both need to be, like, one of them at least needs to be in the team, and they're going to fit a lot better into these center roles than they will in the forward line. That your money will be a lot better spent that way. And for those that decide to go Aldrich as well, like there's better places to put that money. If you need someone cheap on the bench, you can't afford to go for Hook Porty or Cook, I guess, at the end of the day. I mean, Sarr's the same price. If you decided to go Sarr and Zaharakis, I know. I just said a footy player's name because I just too lazy to actually read how to spell that. But look, take Rocco out of your side. I think you'd honestly be better with Aldrich, even though Rocco has the better fixture. I do think Aldrich will perform at a high enough level that he will make up for the less games he plays, and being at that lower price tag. So I think points wise he'll outscore him even with less games. And I think price-wise, he's going to make significantly more money. Like, there's much better picks here than Rocco. I just, once again, a pick I cannot endorse. I do not think that's the pick to be going for. Great. Brisbane have a double in round 1. That's going to be really nice. But I do think he was getting maybe a bit more time run because it was the blitz. I do think I just don't see that happening. 8 to 10 average. Who cares if he has a double game, if he's only going to put out a 16 or 20. Honestly, Aldrich could play one game and probably get pretty close to doing that himself, while at a much cheaper price, allowing you to use money elsewhere to just further improve your team. So, and then, as I said, if you don't have Sarr, just pick Sarr over him. Also has 2 games and is probably going to score double him in 1 game as well. Like, just much better options. So, look, they're my highly owned players that I personally disagree with. I also disagree with Hook Porty being at only 18%. Look, I understand if you've gone Cook and Sarr, then you've sort of filled up and you've put them both in the center, then you've filled that up a little bit. I do think shuffling one of those to the forward, though, and bringing in Hook Porty would be way better. As I mentioned, Melbourne's run's much better. They play 9 games in 5 rounds. They have 4 double-ups in 5 rounds. Like, Melbourne players are absolute king to start this season. Hook Porty falls into that category. He's also the lone center because of Luell Jr. injuring himself, so he's not going to be back till November. So starting Hook Porty is going to be better than bringing Hook Porty in later on. I just think, yes, he has the elevated price tag, but he's going to be worth it. As I talked about in my last video when I talked about the centers and whatnot, I'm pretty sure he averaged 27 in the blitz. He's priced at, I feel like, 16 or something along those lines. And look, even if he doesn't meet up to the 27, I do think he's going to be a 24, 23 average guy at minimum. So you're getting bang for your buck. He has a great run early, so you're going to get a lot of points out of him early. He's going to make money really fast, really quickly. Like, in the first 5 rounds, he'll make really good money, and then if you move him on, brilliant. It's going to work way better. Someone's, as I said, ownership that I disagree with. I think that should be up to, I would say, at least half the competition should have him. Obviously, it comes down to structure, but it's hard to go past him. I would say that, once again, it should be 60 upwards. Like, he just feels like one of the bigger must-haves of this season. But yeah, that's my ownership, guys. I did actually want to be putting these guys in as I went through. I put Goulding in here. Bernan I wasn't going to be putting in, but I guess I can just for the point of it. We want to put in Froling, Zach, and Rocco. And then jumping here, Armstrong, Flowers. Probably go there. And as I mentioned, Hook Porty probably needs to be in more teams, and so does Tyler Cook. So yeah, once again, thanks for tuning into the video, guys. We got 3 days left until this starts up. I will put this video to go out midnight tonight again, and then I'll do one tomorrow. So hopefully you're all watching that Wednesday when we got one more day to go, and that will just be, I guess, my team variations, because I do think there's probably like 3 different structures that I'm really happy with. Obviously there's one I'm going with, but I don't think you'd be wrong going with any of the 3 that I'm gonna list. So tune into that one, guys. Once again, thanks for sticking around for this video, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I just appreciate y'all being here. So anyway, I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace, later.